What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Rambling Men Sports Podcast. As always, it is me, but joining again is my good friend Stephen Copper, giving us a baseball update, roughly the midway point of the season. First of all, Stephen, how you doing?
Doing good. And how you doing, brother?
Yep, for sure. So, big news over the weekend. The MLB All-Star Game rosters were announced last night, actually, Sunday night. First of all, any surprises with you?
I've always had a problem with the voting process for starters. It seems to become a popularity contest most of the time. Yeah. Like Bryce Harper has no reason to be starting in the All-Star Game. I understand that it's in Washington. It's going to be his home All-Star Game.
I have no problem with him even getting a spot because of that. He shouldn't be a starter, though.
He's not put together an all-star starter type season.
If he's a part of the final vote and the fans want to go out there and vote for him to get that final spot, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just don't see. He just doesn't. He's not a starter to me. There's other more deserving guys. I think Lorenzo Cain is a deserving guy from the Brewers. I think there's some other more deserving outfielders for the NL. I've always had a problem with the selection process when it comes to starters, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal the starting lineup. Probably should have done that beforehand. But so we're going to start in the AL. Wilson Ramos from the Tampa Bay Rays is the starting catcher. Honestly, he was the only catcher worth voting this year.
He was. The AL is having a tough year at catcher and at first base.
Yeah, I agree.
A whole lot of production coming out of either of those positions in the AL. So, yeah, Ramos is having the best year out of any of them. So,
I mean, and I'm not to say he's having a bad year. He's having a good year. 289, 79 hits, 12 homers, 47 RBIs so far. He's having a good year, just not a very great year.
Yeah, he's got an OBP just south of 800, or an OPS, just south of 800. And, like I said, in a normal year, would he be an all-star starter? Maybe not, but it's just been that bad of a down year in the AL for catchers. It's not a whole lot of star power at that position. All the star power at that position is in the NL, and there's a lot of guys that deserve to be there in the NL that aren't there.
There's 3 guys in the NL, but we'll get to them later. Sure. Next up for the AL starters, we got the Jose's. Jose Abreu at first base, Jose Altuve at second, Jose Ramirez at third base. Really, the only one I have a problem with there is Abreu. I didn't vote for him. I know he had a hot start to the year. I think this, like you said, this is another position that the AL's weak at. I think I voted for Yuli Gurriel from Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really the only. Like you said, Abreu had a pretty hot start to the year. He's cooled down. Yeah, he's gone ice cold since.
Yeah, he's hitting 259.
259. He's got 90 hits, 12 homers, 50 RBIs. Is not horrible with the break.
No.
He's slugging 448.
It's the 259. If you're hitting in the 250s, I don't think you should be there.
Yeah.
At least not a starter, at least. But it's the way it is. Shortstop Manny Machado. AL is loaded with shortstops.
Right. Yeah. And then Machado was really the only obvious choice there. Obviously you have Frankie Lindor, Anderson Simmons, Gene Segura's having a really good year, but Manny Machado.
I think across the board it had to be Machado because Segura,
far and away having the best year out of all of them for sure.
While Segura is leading by a significant margin in batting average, his home runs are only about 6 or 7.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And then the outfield: Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, and then JD Martinez at the DH. To be honest, of all the starters, I think I voted for all of them except Judge and Abreu.
I think I was just around the same. Judge, he's the hot name right now. He's going to get all votes. Plays in New York.
Yep.
Hits the ball a million miles every time he touches it. He's
He's not having a bad year either. I just didn't vote for him.
He's having a good year, hitting 280, 25 homers at the break. He's got 60 RBIs. He's slugging 560, almost 570. But like I said, I don't really have a problem with it. Michael Brantley would have been an interesting choice. He's having a good year.
Yep, he's one of the reserves.
And his, for his standards, there's.
I'm kind of just happy.
I have a problem with it.
I'm kind of just happy for Brantley because he can't stay healthy. He finally is healthy and he's putting together a good year.
Mm-hmm.
But so the AL reserves, the biggest one to me is Salvador Perez. I know we just said the catching in the AL is not very good, and Perez is there as the backup catcher, and he's hitting 213. I can get it if it were at the All-Star Game or in Kansas City and they voted him in. I'm fine with that, but it's not. And there he is. Who's the catcher for the Astros? Gaddis?
Gaddis, Brian McCann.
Yeah, McCann.
Catches sometimes.
Both are having better years than Perez.
The problem is they had to pick somebody from Kansas City.
That's true.
I would have probably gone with Merrifield.
Yeah.
Or Alex Gordon's having an okay year. There's just not a whole lot going on in Kansas City right now.
Nope.
Mike Kostakis is having an okay year. But it's you have to pick somebody from every team. And
which, real quick, what do you feel about that? Because I'm kind of in favor of it.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it gives more people an opportunity to go to an All-Star game, even if they're playing on a crap team.
Gives fans, like we just said with the Royals.
It gives every team's fans an opportunity to cheer for their guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot more from your Red Sox, your Yankees, the Astros, Cubs, teams that are having good years. The Braves have a number of All-Stars this year. It's going to be populated by the teams that are having good years, but I like that Major League Baseball makes it a point to kind of expand the rosters out, get a whole bunch of folks in, have an opportunity for a whole lot of people to say, you know what, I was an All-Star in 2018.
I agree.
I was an All-Star in 2016, so I like it.
I have to agree. Other reserves, Mitch Moreland at first base from the Boston Red Sox. Didn't really realize what kind of a year he was having until I saw his numbers. Not terrible.
And that's kind of a product of having a backup at every position. And like I said, the first base in the AL is not a position of productivity this year for whatever reason.
Yep.
So it's just a down year. Mitch Moreland, good for him. I mean, I think he's been an All-Star a couple of times, maybe.
He's been in the league a while. If he hasn't, good for him.
He's been in the league a while. This is actually his first All-Star selection, which is a little bit surprising to me, but good for him. He's been in the league a while. He's been a really productive player for a long time. He's productive for the Rangers for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so good for him, I guess. I mean, like I said, it's a down year for a first baseman, but he made it in kind of by the skin of his teeth, and good for him.
Gleyber Torres at second base for the Yankees, Alex Bregman at third for the Houston Astros, Francisco Lindor at shortstop for the Indians, and then Michael Brantley from the Indians, George Springer from the Astros, Mitch Haniger from the Mariners. I did not see that coming. Shin-Soo Choo from the. I'm just going to finish the reserves real quick before you say anything. Shin-Soo Choo from the Rangers. Round out the outfield, and then the backup DH is Nelson Cruz from the Mariners as well. But yeah, Haniger, a big surprise. I think this is the first year I've heard about him, and he's an All-Star.
Yeah, he's having a good year. The Mariners are putting together a good season despite losing Robbie Cano for 80 games, despite having Nelson Cruz that was out for a while.
And what's his name? Felix Hernandez struggling.
Hernandez is struggling. Haniger and Seager are hitting the ball really well. D. Gordon's playing really well out there. They're putting together quite a year. James Paxton, obviously on the mound, is kind of carrying them along with some other stand-in guys, Iwakuma, Marco Gonzalez, to kind of keep things afloat while Hernandez is struggling. I feel bad for Frankie Lindor. He probably would have been the starter if Manny Machado was still playing third base. But Manny moves over to shortstop and kind of just takes the mantle from that he that he had at third and takes it right over to shortstop. So,
yeah.
but Lindor, obviously, an all-star caliber every year. Bregman, the LSU product, has really come into his own as a major league infielder. He's fun to watch. And obviously you got Cruz there, who's always going to be the big bopper and hitting a whole bunch of homers. So there's not really any reserves besides Perez that
I think it's George Springer.
I really have a problem with.
He's hitting 248.
Having a down year for sure. I think that may be more of a previous couple seasons achievement award, but the snubs, in my opinion, in the AL and the outfield, I don't really see any that they're just overwhelmingly outrageous that would take Springer's spot.
No, I thought the same thing in the outfield, especially.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not, like I said, does he deserve to be there? Maybe not, but I'm not too.
The big one that I actually voted for, now that I think about it, is Eddie Rosario from the Minnesota Twins. Had an insanely hot June.
That is one that I looked at because he's having a good year. He's hitting 301. He's got over 100 hits. He had 342 on base. I mean, he's having a good year. He'll be in that final vote. He's in that final vote, which I guess we'll talk about in a minute. It's kind of a coin toss. Springer's going to win a lot of popularity contests because of the type of guy he is. And I just read this. I don't know if you know this. So the first 5 position player reserves are voted on by the players. And then the MLB takes the last 6, I think, or however many are left, and kind of populates them if they need to put somebody who there's not a team that has a player yet. They'll kind of, that's how the reserves are done on both position player and pitcher side. So I think Springer probably won a spot in the player vote,
probably.
Which, like I said, he's gonna do it. That's gonna happen a lot. He's a good guy. People like playing with and against Springer, so I'm not overwhelmingly upset with it, but there may have been some other deserving candidates.
I agree. The pitchers in the AL are, honestly, I don't really have a problem with any of them, but the biggest one to me is leaving out Blake Snell.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that. I saw the pictures. I'm like, okay, that's a decent list. And then I was looking up, the biggest snubs for my blog, and Blake Snell was right there, leading the AL in ERA at 2.09. I'm like, how did he not get in?
He's got a 209. He has 11, 12 wins. He's got a WHIP. I think I saw that it was just right around 1. I mean, he's having an incredible year. He's just not there. And yep. I mean, the Rays aren't a good team, so
I looked the other day and they had a winning record.
This doesn't make any sense to me. Blake Snell deserves to be there. Wow. And so what I just described to you, the top 5 player voted pitchers.
And I do understand that pitchers are voted by coaches or manager.
Players.
The players vote the pitchers.
Players vote for the first 5, and you've got Bauer, Kluber, Sales, Severino, Verlander, and all 5 of those guys deserve to be there. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, most of these guys.
Full spot, but I mean, come on. I mean, but leaving him off of the MLB picks or whatever the filler picks are, that should not.
I'm looking at it here, so
it's a product of rules that I'm not, I don't know, I'm not privy to, but I it's not something that I like. Craig Kimbrell is having somewhat of a down year for him. He's got almost a 2 ERA as a closer, and You think you don't? You don't think Blake Snell could have had that spot? So
I mean, the biggest one with me, and I understand everyone's got to have a team in, and I believe this is the only one from this team, but J.A. Happ from the Toronto Blue Jays isn't even having an all-star caliber year. 4.4 ERA. He does have 115 strikeouts. That's pretty good, but 4.4 ERA. You're telling me there's not a position player in Toronto that's doing better than Happ is pitching?
yeah, for sure. That's one of those kind of a byproduct of those rules, and sometimes it kind of comes back and bites you, especially if, like in the Tampa Bay's case, they have a player voted in, so they've got their representative.
Yep.
Sometimes that comes back to bite you.
I'm trying to look. If Eddie Rosario gets in, I think maybe you leave Jose Barrios out, but the rest of these, I mean, I feel like they're deserving. Trevor Bauer having a great year, Garrett Cole having a great year, Kluber, Sale, Severino, Verlander all have ERAs like less than 2.5 except Garrett Cole. And then the relievers, Aroldis Chapman's around 1.4. Edwin Diaz is 2.3. Maybe you leave him out. Seattle already has their guys, but he's
got 35 saves.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean,
he's got 78 Ks.
Yeah.
Joe Jimenez. Oh, I remember an outfielder that we forgot about that didn't get in was Nick Castellanos. Just for the record.
Yeah, Castellanos is having a good year. That's true. I didn't think about him.
But I was saying, that reminded me. I thought, Jimenez shouldn't even be their representative. It should be Castellanos, but Detroit Tigers anyway. And Kimbrel, he's having a decent year, but like you said, a little bit of a down year. But his ERA is still under 2. And Blake Trinan has an ERA under 1 for the Oakland A's. So just tough to get in with that crowd.
It's tough, and like I said, those rules of everybody has to have a representative sometimes come back to bite you because you don't have that rule. Blake Snell definitely gets in.
Yeah, I agree.
He probably gets in over Barrios. He probably gets in over Jimenez, and maybe Blake Trinan. Trinan's having a good year. Definitely gets in over J.A. Happ. But say la vie, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so moving on to the NL, and I know you are a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, and they're having a decent year. It's not as good of a year as I think we both thought, but I believe they only have one representative right now.
Correct.
Michaelis?
Miles Michaelis is our only representative, who he deserves to be there.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
9-3, I think, 2.6 ERA. He's got a whip that I think is just over 1. He deserves to be there. There's a couple other guys that I think should be there and probably will get there, depending on injuries and guys that may start a game on Sunday in a pitch as a pitcher that we might get an extra spot.
And that's another thing. I think we will have some of these pitchers will drop out. That seems to always be the case.
Right.
I know last year. I think Chris Archer was one of the guys I had on my list, and the day I posted it, he was named to the team like within an hour.
Yeah. Well, I saw that Verlander is going to pitch.
Yeah, because somebody pitched, and then he was just called in as a replacement.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, Snell will get in by that. I'm sure he's the first person they're calling once they figure out that somebody's starting on Sunday. So.
But yeah, so NL starters at catcher we got Wilson Contreras from the Cubs. Kind of like the AL, I didn't really see anybody. No, that's not true. I think I voted for JT Realmuto.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wilson Contreras having a solid year. Not as good of a year as Realmuto, in my opinion, but the Cubs fans get out there and vote.
Yeah, they do. It's annoying.
Yes, they do. Freddie Freeman for the Atlanta Braves started off really hot, has kind of regressed. I saw his ERA, batting average around 3.08. It's up to 3.15, so he's hitting the ball better. But I believe that was your preseason NL MVP pick. I think you just said it. I think we asked you, who do you like? And you said, I think Freddie Freeman. I think he'll have a good year.
Yeah, Freeman for sure. I didn't foresee the Braves having a season like this, and I think I prefaced it with if the Braves put it all together, which they have. Freddie Freeman would be the leader in the clubhouse and could be a front runner for the MVP. And he's putting together that type of year, and the Braves are having that type of year too. So
yeah, I agree.
Seemed to be the fortune teller.
The Braves have definitely been a surprise. At second base, Javier Baez of the Chicago Cubs. When that was first announced, Steven, my house is a Cincinnati Reds family. When that was announced, my brother was in an uproar that it went to Javier Baez and not Scooter Gennett.
That deserves to be there.
But after he did some research, he was like, you know what, Baez, I can kind of let it slide. While he doesn't have as good of a batting average as Gennett, I think he's got more home runs, more RBIs, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And their slugging percentage and on base, I think, is about the same. I think Baez has a better slugging than Gennett, but Gennett has more hits, I believe, and a better average.
Yeah.
I know you hate the Cubs, and I don't really mind the Cubs, but I do think it should be Gennett. I don't really have a problem with Baez getting that spot, though.
I don't either. As much as I hate to see all those CHCs out beside names in the All-Star Game, Baez is having a good year.
Yep, he is.
He's kind of turned it on. He's kind of put it all together. Obviously, he's still going to be one of the best defensive players in the game. Wherever he plays, he plays third, short, second, pretty much weekly. He's still going to be that glove in the middle infield or on the corner. And he's finally kind of put it together, put a season together at the plate. So good for him, I suppose.
All right, so third base is actually not really a surprise, but normally that spot has been, I believe, Chris Bryant, and he's been hurt. He's battled injuries, not having a great year, and Nolan Arenado takes that spot from the Colorado Rockies. 100% deserves it. I think he's the best third baseman in the NL by a mile. I don't know about you, and I think this is his best year at the plate.
Yeah. Arenado is another one of those guys like Baez who has the best glove at his position, has put together 3 or 4 years now of great seasons at the plate. He's just kind of continuing where he's at. I'm trying to see. I think this is his 6th or 7th All-Star appearance. He's one of the more.
I think he's been an All-Star every year. I know he's been a Gold Glove almost every year.
So this is his 4th All-Star appearance. And he totally deserves it. He's having a year that warrants him being the starting third baseman. So good for him. I like Arenado. He's one of my favorite non.
I agree. I like him too. Shortstop is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants. This was one of the weaker positions, I think. The NL in general, I thought was fairly weak across the board, and this was one of them. I mean, Brandon Crawford's a good player. He's not generally a starting shortstop, though, for the All-Star game.
Yeah, and that's always been a position of weakness for the NL.
I'd say since Troy Tulowitzki
shortstops have always been in the American League for whatever reason. Yeah. Since you and I have been alive, the shortstops have always been in the American League. So, whatever that is, who knows? But I mean, Trevor Story in Colorado's having a good year. He got named to the reserve list, so he gets his nod. I don't have a problem with Brandon Crawford.
Oh, no, I don't either. He's just not normally a guy you vote in. He's not a household name.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in the outfield, 2 old dudes who have been around for forever, Nick Markakis and Matt Kemp, get 2 of the votes. I believe I voted for both of them. I mean, they've been around for forever. I didn't know this was Markakis' first All-Star game appearance.
Yeah, I voted. I saw that too, and he has really come around in his later years in Atlanta. Put together a couple of good years in the past couple of years for really horrible Atlanta teams. So good that he's finally getting the recognition as the Braves have kind of put it all together and started winning ball games. Markakis has really kept it going, and he finally gets his nod. So good for him. And then Matt Kemp. I seem to write off Matt Kemp.
He seems to be keeping the Dodgers alive. I don't know about you.
They kind of just fade into the twilight. But good for Matt Kemp. He's back home in L.A. where he started his career, and he bounced around a little bit, but he's back in L.A. He seems to like the limelight out there. So
yep. And then lastly, we've already touched up on it, but Bryce Harper gets the last starting spot in the NL roster. I have a huge problem with this. He's hitting 218. Granted, that's better than what he was a week ago. It was about 213.
Yeah,
but he does hit. He's hit 21 homers. He's got 50 RBIs. His on base is 374. I mean, just get the hits up.
Yeah, and like I said, it being in Washington and probably his last year in Washington.
I don't know with the way this year's going.
Yeah, for sure. I don't, he's that guy. He and Mike Trout are going to be there every year, no matter where they're playing, what they're doing, because of what they can do, what they have done, and the popularity contest aspect of it. Do I think that he deserves to be a starter this year? No, absolutely not. He's hitting less than 220.
My rule is generally if you're hitting below about 270, I'm not going to vote you in.
Yeah, that doesn't get you into the All-Star game. You got to have a representative from Washington.
Yeah, that's true. Other than Scherzer, they're going to get Scherzer, but
I don't.
I love Bryce Harper. He shouldn't be there. Not as a starter. Maybe not even as a reserve. He should be a part of the final vote. But so NL reserves, like we said, catcher was kind of heavy, and we got two backup catchers, Buster Posey from the Giants and JT Realmuto of the Miami Marlins, who is having a fantastic year. He was a guy I had last year as one of the snubs, and then this year he finally gets in.
Yeah, Realmuto's having a good year. He's kind of the lone sailor down there from the kind of the blow up that Derek Jeter did. He's kind of sailing a sinking ship. Posey just went down with a hip injury, so he won't be playing in the All-Star game.
Yeah, okay, that spot will probably go to somebody else then.
If they go with the catcher, it'll probably be Yachty. He has really turned it on lately. Leads all catchers in homers. I think he's right up there behind Realmuto and Posey in batting average and RBIs and all those money stats. Of course, they could go with a position player since they already have two catchers.
Yeah, I mean, I think outfield, they only have 6. Maybe you get a 7th in there. But a very weak outfield year. I think I said that to you in the NL. But first base, Paul Goldschmidt of the Arizona Diamondbacks started very, very cold to the regular season, has since been very hot. I think I remember he was hitting about 208. He has got his average up to about 281 since then. So he's starting to put it together. And then Joey Votto from my Cincinnati Reds, who I love Joey Votto. I'm not sure he should be there.
Yeah.
He's hitting 292, but only 8 homers.
His power numbers are down. Everything else is right where it usually is. About 300, hit my 300 on base, about 430. Slugging right around there. Slugging's down a little bit. He's usually up around 550, 600 slugging. But, 292, 95 hits. And first base is a little weak in the NL. I think you could have made an argument for Jose Martinez in St. Louis. You could have made an argument.
I got two. I got one right here is Jesus Aguilar.
Aguilar in Milwaukee. Definitely could have made an argument for Brandon Belt.
That's another.
In San Francisco, you could have made an argument for. There's a lot. So, while I don't have a problem with Votto, there's guys that were certainly, if not as worthy, maybe a little bit more worthy than he. But Votto's proved that he is an all-star player on horrible teams, no less. So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. All right, so second base, we've already mentioned Scooter Gennett will be a replacement, probably should be a starter. But the other second baseman is Ozzy Albies. Do you know how to pronounce that?
Ozzy Albies.
Albies. I have never heard of him until this year. All I know is that he plays for Atlanta.
he's a rookie this year. That's why I haven't heard of him, and he will be the rookie of the year if he keeps it up. He is ripping the absolute fire out of the ball. So he deserves to be there for sure.
Hitting 281, 108 hits, 18 homers. I'm fine with that.
Odd over Baez. He deserves to be there for sure.
Yeah.
And
then
we got a couple of Reds coming your way.
Just one more. Third base, Eugenio Suarez, who I didn't realize the kind of year he was having until a few weeks ago. My brother's making the case. Is he, behind Arenado, is he the second best third baseman in the NL? I think he's showing it.
This year, maybe.
Yeah, this year, maybe.
Overall, he's probably behind KB and a couple other guys. But he's having a heck of a year.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with his spot on the team for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah. No, but he's having a really good year. I didn't know that until recently. Shortstop Trevor Story, like we said, not a great shortstop year for the NL. It really never is, but Story is one of the better ones, probably the best one in the NL. Hitting roughly about what I expect: 284, 97 hits, 17 homers, 62 RBIs. On base about 348. I mean, he's having a really good year. Just Crawford's been a little bit better at the plate.
Yeah. And Crawford's a Gold Glove caliber. He's won a couple Gold Gloves, so like I said, I don't have a real problem with it.
And then in the outfield, we have Charlie Blackmon, also from the Colorado Rockies, who I love, one of my favorite players just from his beard and hair alone. But he's hitting 276. I'm not used to that. Last year, he was hitting about 340 most of the year.
Yeah, he's down a little bit. His power numbers are up from the break last year. Like you said, he's down a little bit in batting average, but I still think he deserves to be there. Well,
it's just I think I texted this to you.
Don't see anybody else that you can put in.
The NL was very weak in the outfield this year, I thought.
I mean, Peralta and Herrera that are in the final vote. Or no.
And no, it's just Peralta's not even in it.
But David Peralta and Odubel Herrera, you may have made an argument for.
Those were two of my biggest snubs, but yeah.
Yeah, I still don't have a problem with Chuck Blackmon.
No, I don't either. And then the next two are Milwaukee Brewers, Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich. Lo Cain, we know who he is. He's pretty good. Yelich, though, I think it's his first All-Star game. Very underrated player. I remember watching him at the WBC a few years ago, and he put on not put on a clinic, but one of the better players we had.
Yeah, absolutely. They've come over to Milwaukee and done exactly what they needed to do. So they're all-star guys, and they deserve to be there. So good for them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really cheering for Milwaukee. I'm kind of hopping on their bandwagon. Just Brewers are always terrible. I used to live in Wisconsin, so might as well just cheer for them.
Why not?
So the pitchers,
we'll not be doing that, but
yeah, obviously you're not. I don't expect you to. NL pitchers, Patrick Corbin from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's having a great year. Just his ERA is a little bit up, 3.05.
Yeah, he's running into some bad luck with no decisions.
Yeah.
He's only 6-3. He and DeGrom are having kind of the same.
I was just about to say, you want to talk about having a bad luck with no decisions? It's Jacob DeGrom.
Yeah. Jacob DeGrom, who's probably the best pitcher in the NL right now, is really running into some issues there. You see 1.79 as an ERA, and a record of 5-4.
142 strikeouts. I think that's second behind Scherzer. But, I mean, he's got an ERA sub-2, and he's 5-4.
Yeah. That's just absolutely absurd. I mean, the poor guy is just...
Yeah, I love DeGrom. I love the Mets. Just, I feel bad for him. And then, I honestly don't know how to pronounce this dude's name. Mike...
Fulton Nevitz.
Say that again. Fulton Nevitz?
Yes.
Okay, Fulton Nevitz.
All my Braves fan friends are just... nuts for him.
Yeah.
They love him.
Again, he's kind of running into some bad luck with no decisions, only about 6-5, but his ERA is 2.3. And he's got 114 Ks, only 95 innings pitched though. They're getting into the bullpen when he pitches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, having a great year. Just his team can't seem to hit the bat when hit the ball when he's in.
Yeah. Sure happens.
Your boy, we just said, Miles Michaelis.
Michaelis. He's like I said, he deserves to be there. He's kind of been our stalwart. With Carlos Martinez went down for a couple of weeks. Michaelis has been able to go in, really eat up innings.
Yeah, he's been a surprise.
Give the Cards a chance to win every time he goes out. So, him and John Lester, right there in the middle. I hate John Lester for everything that he's ever done.
Oh yeah, I skipped John Lester. I didn't see that.
I have a powerful disdain for John Lester.
I'm not a huge fan of him either.
But he just all he does is go out and give teams chances to win. Let's see, this is his 5th All-Star game. Not saying he's not deserving, but I just hate him because
truth be told, he's kind of keeping the Cubs afloat. They're not doing much at the plate. Their pitching has kind of been subpar, and he's been definitely the best one by far.
Yeah, for sure. He's the ace they need him to be. That's Darvish has not panned out like they wanted him to. Arietta obviously leaving.
That Game 7 of the World Series must have rocked Darvish.
Must have. The absolute disaster zone in Game 7 might have gotten into Darvish's head.
Probably. Aaron Nola of the very surprising Philadelphia Phillies gets in.
Yeah.
Having a really great year. 11-2, 2.4 ERA.
Really, really good year.
Yeah. And that's kind of surprising. We all thought it would be probably Arrieta would probably be their representative at the All-Star game. And he's having a good year as well.
Yeah, he is. But Nola's having a better one, and he deserves it. So.
And then lastly, Max Scherzer, who we all expected. I just realized Clayton Kershaw's not there. Wow.
Yeah, Kershaw's had a bit of a down year for his standards. He's been kind of banged up a little bit. But, he's, not having an All-Star year. So
yeah, I agree.
Scherzer will probably be the starter.
Yeah.
Either maybe Lester.
Like we've said, I don't really – my brother gave me shit for that today. He texted me and he was saying, who's going to start the All-Star game, I think. I said I was probably going to be Scherzer. He said, bullshit, it should be DeGrom. I don't disagree with him. I also really don't have a problem with Scherzer going out there and pitching in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, especially it being in Washington. It would make a lot of sense for Dave Roberts.
If it wasn't in Washington, I think it'd easily be DeGrom.
Yeah, but I have no problem making a case for you. Or even Lester, maybe even Aaron Nola. There's a lot of guys in the NL this year that are deserving of that spot.
I think the NL definitely has the better pitchers than the NL or than the AL. Reliever Sean Doolittle of the Washington Nationals will also be there, having a pretty good year as well. Milwaukee Brewers, I haven't known this. My brother said it. Loaded in the bullpen, and Josh Hader is their representative.
Josh Hader's the leader of the bunch. He's got the hair that looks like Thor. It's ridiculous. He's having an insane year. Yeah. 44 and 2/3 innings pitched, and he's got 83 Ks. That is absolutely ridiculous.
What is that? I'm not good at math. That's almost 2 Ks an inning.
0.9 Ks an inning. And that's Randy Johnson type stuff.
Oh, I know. His ERA is the best of the relievers here at 1.21. Yeah, that's really good. Another guy that my brother mentioned that was left out, I think is also a Milwaukee Brewers reliever, was Jeffress? Yeah. Yeah, he was left out as well. Brad Hand from the San Diego Padres. Again, one of those, we have to get a representative, and he's in there. He's not having a particularly great year, but it's not bad. It's not a bad year.
Yeah, he's a closer, and I think he's among the league leaders in saves.
Yeah, I mean, saves he is, but 2.9 ERA. Strikeouts are okay, 64.
Four blown saves. It's. But like we said, gotta have a rep, and I mean he's the obvious choice from San Diego because there's not a whole lot going on out there this year.
Other than probably Hosmer, he's having a decent year.
I mean, he always got that Royals push in Kansas City for whatever reason. They just love to vote for the Royals when they were good.
He's a really good first baseman. The problem is that NL's loaded with great first basemen that can hit the ball, and he's just not one of those guys. He can hit the ball, just not as good as some other guys.
That's true, for sure.
Kenley Jansen of the Dodgers, who I believe is their only representative.
I think he is. They've got one in the
oddly
final.
No. I'm sorry, Matt Kemp.
Kemp, that's right.
But yeah.
But that's not a name. I mean, Jansen has put together a couple of really good years. But that's not normally the pitcher name you see from LA. Like we said, that's normally signed, stamped, and delivered as Clayton Kershaw's spot. But he's having a down year, and he doesn't deserve to be there this year. So
yep.
Pot goes to Jansen, who's having an okay year. 2.3 ERA, 24 saves. He's blown a couple, but
And then lastly, Felipe Vasquez, who I believe was also on my list for the biggest snubs last year. Not having nearly as good of a year as he did last year, but really not having a good year at all. 3.3 ERA, only 18 saves and 51 Ks. But Pittsburgh's pretty bad. They don't really have anyone. Maybe Corey Dickerson.
Horrible Pittsburgh team. Corey Dickerson's having a quietly productive year. I don't think he's all-star quality.
I just threw out a name and one of their position players.
Yeah.
They don't really have pitching. Their position players, I can't really think of one that's having a really particular great year.
Yeah. So, gotta have a rep, and he seems to be the pick.
All right, but so we've now revealed the rosters. We're going to head now to the final vote. We've mentioned that right now, but the final vote is essentially the fans get one more shot to vote one more guy in from the AL and the NL. And in the AL, it is Andrew Benintendi, Eddie Rosario, Gene Segura, Andrelton Simmons, Giancarlo Stanton. And in the NL, it's Jesus Aguilar, Brandon Belt, Matt Carpenter from your St. Louis Cardinals, Max Muncy, who I had never heard of until this year, and Trey Turner of the Washington Nationals. Steven, who do you like to win the vote on both in both leagues?
So, who I think will win and who I want to win are different in both leagues.
Mm-hmm.
In the American League, my vote is going to Andrew Benintendi. And that may be a very selfish pick because I have seen him play with my own eyes a bunch. When he played at Arkansas, I think he's having a really, really good year. The stat you don't see with him is he's stolen 16 or 17 bases, hitting second in front of Betts and JD Martinez and those folks. Having a really quietly good year under those two MVP candidates. Who I think will win? I think Giancarlo will probably take it. While I think that Rosario, Segura, I think all four of them deserve to be there more than he does. Stanton's got star quality. He's got the name.
He's got the name. He's got the Yankees on his side. It's going to be hard, I think, for Stanton not to win this vote.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, do I think he deserves to be there as much as the other guys? No, but I think I think he'll win it. What do you think?
I think we're both in agreement that we think Stanton will win the vote. You made a really interesting argument for Benintendi, because I was going to say Rosario. Andrelton Simmons, I don't think has enough, unless the people of LA just really go out there and vote for him. But he's the second favorite team in LA, right. So that's against him. I think Segura is very interesting and really should be there. Problem is, he doesn't have near enough. He's hitting 330 with 115 hits, but only 7 home runs. I don't think he has enough. His on base is only 358. Again, I was gonna say Rosario, but aside from the month of June, he's not having that great of a year.
Mm.
And I think you're fair to say Benintendi. Probably from the start to finish, not finish, but start to right now, he's been probably better than Rosario for the stretch of from April to now.
Most complete season of the 5. I mean, with Andrelton, it's and I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast before. Andrelton Simmons has a huge bump in WAR, wins above replacement, because Andrelton Simmons is until Machado came along at shortstop, was far and away the best defensive second or shortstop in the American League and probably in the entire Major League Baseball. That with stat nerds and dorks on TV goes a long way for getting him talked about and things like that. Do I think that translates into All-Star votes? Probably not. But that's something that needs to be talked about. Like I said, I don't think he has enough to be an All-Star. I don't think WAR alone can get you to be an All-Star, but it's something that at least
that's definitely a stat you don't hear about, and something that's probably part of the reason why Giancarlo Stanton won NL MVP last year. People only care about your average, your hits, your home runs, and your RBIs, especially home runs. That's what sells. And like last year, we've mentioned this with Joey Votto, led in just about every statistical category. No one cared about like on-base percentage, slugging percentage, WAR, anything else. Was having a monster year in all those categories, but he didn't beat Stanton in the home runs, RBIs, but he did, I'm sure, had a better batting average. But yeah, you're 100% right about that. But yeah, I think you made an interesting case for Benintendi, but since I voted for Rosario, I'll say Rosario. He's put it together.
Yeah, and then hopping over to the NL, obviously my vote is going to Matt Carpenter as the homer vote. He's really turned it on. He came out just ice, frozen, burr, cold, and was hitting like 160 up through middle of May, and has absolutely turned it around. He's hitting something like 330 in the past month and a half. Has really, really jumped up in his power numbers.
Yeah, he's usually a very good bat in y'all's lineup.
And they moved him back to the leadoff spot. Yeah, and he's really kind of blossomed. So obviously, Carp will be getting my vote as a Cardinal fan. But I think the most deserving of the 5 is Jesus Aguilar. I think he's having the best news of the 5. Timeout. Brett Kavanaugh just selected as the Supreme Court Justice.
I was cheering for Barrett. I don't know how I feel about Kavanaugh.
I like Kavanaugh anyway. But like I said, Aguilar is having the best year out of the 5. Maybe him and Max Muncy, who, like you said, I had never heard of either. So I think Aguilar deserves to be there the most. Maybe Trey Turner gets the hometown vote. Who knows? But my vote will be Carp, with Aguilar probably deserving it the most.
Hang on, I'm sending a text here.
Do it, man.
Gotta update the family on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So you said Carpenter. For a spot like this, I wouldn't mind if Carpenter got in. As he's gonna get a reserve. He's part of the final vote. He's not gonna start. He'll likely play if he wins. But for this kind of spot, I don't mind him getting in. I know my rule is generally under 270, you really shouldn't get in. But 258, I really don't care for the final vote.
Right.
He's got the home runs. RBIs are a little down, but I wouldn't mind him seeing him in. The guy I would vote for is Jesus Aguilar. I read about this in my blog. he has, I think he has more home runs, RBIs, a better bat. I don't know about batting average, but I think a better slugging and on base percentage than the dudes. Not on base, but he's better at, I believe, home runs, RBIs, and slugging than the dudes who were picked. So Freeman, Goldschmidt, and Votto. He's better in those categories. He's also played in about 100 fewer at bats than those guys.
Right. He's a defensive liability, I know.
Oh yeah, he's only in there for his bat.
He's a bat, and he does his job well. But like I said, he's got a couple hundred fewer plate appearances.
Yeah, he's only got, I think, 245, and between Freeman, Goldschmidt, and Votto, I think Votto had the least amount of at bats at 318. So that's still 55 plus 18, roughly 20, 75 at bats more.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's putting together a solid year with 75 hits. I mean, that's not usually what you see, but he's got the homers, he's got the RBIs, he's got the average, and he's got the slugging. So, very interesting. But the guy I think that will get it is probably Trey Turner. I think he's going to get the hometown vote.
Right.
Putting together a nice year for an NL shortstop. His average is down, but he's got 100 hits, 11 homers. I mean, shortstops aren't really home run hitters. On base is really good. His slugging's kind of down, and his RBIs are kind of down. But I think he leads the NL in stolen bases.
Yeah, I'd say he steals bases. He wreaks havoc and plays a good shortstop. So
he's a nice player. But I think he will get that last vote.
He's young. Yeah.
It could be Max Muncy too. I'm not sure about Carpenter. There are a lot of Cardinals fans. They could potentially get him in there. I'm just not sure he's what I call sexy enough.
Right. Yeah. Well, don't talk to my girlfriend about that. She loves Max Carpenter. She's like, oh my God, his beard is perfect. He's beautiful.
Oh, I don't mean literal sexy, but I don't think he's he's just a big enough name.
Yeah, for sure.
Aguilar, I don't think Aguilar's going to come close. I don't think they're going to see him and think who. That's probably what I would have thought had I not known about him about 2 weeks ago. I don't know who Max Muncy is, but the Dodgers fans will likely go out there and vote for him. Brandon Belt, again, it's kind of like who. I know who he is, and he's a solid player, but
yeah. To guys who don't follow baseball, Brandon Belt, you may have heard of him since he did play for the Dodgers, or for the Giants for all those World Series teams, but he's more of like a Mr. Reliability than somebody who's going to pop off the lineup at you. I mean, he's
not the star in their lineup. He's like the third or fourth guy.
Yeah.
I'd say it's Posey, McCutchen, Crawford, and then him.
Yeah, maybe Pence.
I forgot about Pence.
Is having a good year. He's not having a great year this year. Obviously, Longoria for that team has been hurt.
He's a name from like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the 2008 year when they went to the World Series, he hasn't done. I mean, I shouldn't say he hasn't done a whole lot, but hasn't been the same player. So now we're gonna stay on the All-Star game, but players who shouldn't be there, we've already said a few. Steven, I'm curious to see who all you got. I got 5 names here.
Yeah, and I think we're going to overlap a lot on these. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about Bryce not deserving to be there, but kind of understanding why he's there. Sal Perez, George Springer, J.A. Happ. We've talked about all these.
That's 4 of my 5.
Yeah. I would probably throw in. Who would I throw in?
I like the guy. I'll go ahead and say mine. I like him, and I just said his name, but Buster Posey.
Yeah,
he's hitting 285, but only 5 homers and 27 RBIs. I know that he's been hurt too. Kind of like Votto. He's mostly just a walk machine nowadays.
Yeah. People don't want to pitch to him. Yeah. I don't have a problem with Posey.
I don't really either. He was just somebody I saw. Another one I don't really know much about. I'm not sure I'd vote him in is Mitch Haniger.
Yeah.
He's got 62 RBIs, though. I mean, that's pretty dang good.
Nelly Cruz.
Yeah, I would say him before Haniger.
Maybe.
If it were 5 years ago, yeah, I'd put Cruz in there, but.
And yeah. You know. I don't really. The ones I really have a problem with are the ones we talked about: Perez and Harper and J.A. Happ and Springer to an extent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got any more names.
No, Cruz is another one though. Now that you mention it, Cruz is one I would not vote for, and wouldn't want him there. So yeah, we overlap there, and we're probably going to overlap here again. Players who were snubbed. Obviously, the biggest one being Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. Nicholas, I don't know, does he go by Nick or Nicholas Castellanos?
Or Nick Castellanos.
Okay.
Nick Castellanos.
Nick Castellanos is a big one. I mean, the AL is loaded in the outfield, but he's right up there with those guys, and it's just too bad he plays for a team that's awful. I mean, he's hitting 301, 107 hits, 15 homers, 55 RBIs, having a really great year. Another name we haven't even talked about yet, but it's unfortunate that he's not going to get there, is Jed Lowry for the Oakland A's. Having a really solid year. 290, 100 hits, 16 homers, 62 RBIs, just as much as Haniger, I believe. That's toward the top of the AL. 357 on base and 507 slugging. He's a second baseman. But,
yeah, Jed kind of stuck behind the star power in Altuve and Torres.
Which is unfortunate. I mean, Altuve is going to own that AL starting second base spot for the next 10 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's kind of stuck. Jed is a little bit more of a utility player. He can play second. I think he can play third, or he has in his career, I know. So, like I said, he's having a good year out in Oakland. Oakland's kind of quietly contending.
They're around 500.
Maybe not contending. They're about 10 games above 500, and but in the West, it's going to be tough to contend with the Astros as they have begun to run away with it as everybody thought they would. So, yeah, Lowry's having a good year. There's a couple other guys out there. Matt Olson's having a good year. There's a couple of guys named Matt Olson, Matt Chapman having a good year.
I haven't heard of any of them.
Yeah, the only reason I know him is the Barstool Baseball podcast I listen to. Dallas Braden's on it, and he's one of the color commentary guys for.
I love Dallas Braden. Yeah,
and all he does is talk about how Oakland gets no respect.
Well, no wonder, because he's in Oakland. That's where he played, so no wonder.
So
but yeah, so rounding out the ones I have in the AL, Eddie Rosario from the Minnesota Twins, I've mentioned him, and Gene Segura for the Seattle Mariners. Gosh, Segura, it's so hard to leave Segura out, but the AL is just loaded at shortstop.
Yeah, Carlos Correa, who may be the best shortstop in the.
He's another one, yeah.
Didn't even make the team.
Yep.
So
and not part of the final vote. He's not getting there.
No, unless.
Yeah, unless maybe a few names drop out.
Yeah. So.
But so in the NL, I'm curious to know who you have. I'm sure it's loaded with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Not really. I mean, Aguilar is one that we've talked about already. I think there's a couple Cardinals that might deserve to be there. I think Yachty deserves to be there.
Well, what's his numbers? He's usually the reserve catcher at the least.
Let me look those up.
He's usually a very good bat, and at least the reserve catcher.
Yeah, and he's missed. So he has missed 30-ish games this year. So he's only had 212 bats.
That's pretty low.
He's got 60 hits, 38 RBIs. Let's see. 13 homers. He's hitting 278. He's got 320 on base clip, slugging 495 for an OPS of 816.
Yeah, that's not bad.
For missing 30 games, with a sore man part, he's having an okay year.
Yeah, that's a pretty good year. Yeah,
his defensive metrics are off the charts. Um, so his WAR is up because of that. I don't know. I think Yachty deserves to be there. Obviously, that may be some hometown bias. I think I might be wearing his jersey right now. I'm not sure. But, there's some other guys. I think I talked about Herrera from Philadelphia and Peralta from
he's
Arizona.
on mine. Yep, they're both on mine.
They're both on your list that you sent. I don't know if I necessarily agree with Asdrubal Cabrera that you on your list, but
yeah.
But he's having an okay year.
It was between one of the pitchers from Milwaukee, I think a starter. I should have gone with one of the relievers, but it was too late. I already published it, and I was like, I'm not changing it.
Yeah. Way too much effort.
And then I think it was down between Starlin Castro and Cabrera, roughly the same numbers. He just has more home runs and RBIs.
Yeah, and Castro is kind of well, look at that. Yachty really named an NL All-Star team replacing Buster Posey. So
how about that?
So Yachty just got in.
All right, so there we go.
Yeah, perfect. I'm trying to think of Castro is one you mentioned that is interesting. He's kind of the first mate to JT Realmuto's captain of the sinking ship down there in Miami.
Hard to tell which one will be there longer.
For a horrible team, so
I don't think Realmuto is going to be there much longer.
I don't think he is either. I think he's even said that he wants out, and I do not blame him whatsoever for saying that. So maybe he'll get traded to him.
But yeah, I had Aguilar, Herrera, really solid year. I mean, he's been ice cold recently, but I believe my co-host James even said he was batting up to 350 at one point, maybe last month, and then has just since been incredibly cold.
Bottomed out a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember played the Phillies about a month ago. He was hitting something like 320. So yeah, he's kind of really bottomed out lately. Been on a slump, but still having a good year.
And then Peralta, for all the talk about Arizona not having enough bats since JD Martinez left, he has been able to fill that void.
They've really found some.
Yep.
Obviously Goldschmidt, Jake Lamb, AJ Pollock.
Yeah, Pollock getting back healthy is huge, and Goldschmidt obviously heating up really helps. That team.
You might want to watch out.
I won't be shocked if they hold that NL West division, but we'll get into that next.
Yeah, watch out for Arizona.
Yeah. And then my last guy is Trey Turner. Decent year, hometown guy, final vote. I feel like he's going to get it.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of it, unless you got something else you want to talk about.
Well, I think we've pretty much touched everything. We've kind of talked ad nauseum about.
Yeah, we've been at this for an hour. Let's get right to. Let's go ahead and just give a what do we call it? A mid-season update.
Season update, yeah. So really, every division is pretty tight except for the AL Central.
I was going to say the West. Well, no, I forgot the Mariners are in the West.
The Central, the Indians have kind of run away with it. They're 10 games up, and the Twins are kind of falling apart. And there's not another team in that division that's going to get anywhere close.
It's bad when the Tigers are probably the second best team in that division.
Yeah, and they are 12 games under 500, 11 games back. So
that's third. Who's second? The Twins are in second. They were awful just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean that division's falling apart. The Indians will win that division by 25 games.
Probably the Indians are gonna have to heat up.
They're gonna have to. They're gonna get beat in the DS by whoever wins the wild card game between the second place in the East and the second place in the West.
Well, they won't play that team unless they get the first place.
Yeah, that's true. I always forget the baseball backstory. But talking about the East and the West, there are two teams in each division that are kind of at the top. Obviously, the Red Sox and the Yankees in the East. One will get in. One will be the division winner. One will be the wild card representative, and I think it's kind of the same in the West with the Astros and the Mariners.
Holy crap! Oakland is 10 games above 500.
The Mariners have kind of put it together, but Oakland's kind of sneaky. You might want to watch out for Oakland.
Last I checked, they were like 31-31.
Yeah, they've
just around 500.
They've kind of put it together. I'm gonna grab my chart real quick.
Okay, so he left. I didn't catch what he said. Yeah, I did not see that coming with Oakland. I'm not sure how long he's going to be gone.
I'm here.
All right, here you. All right. I didn't hear what you said. I heard, hold on, I'm going to, and then it cut out. I was like, uh-oh.
Go grab my charger. Yeah. It's about to die. Well, like I said, the A's are kind of putting it together. I wouldn't be surprised if they start to contend for that second wild card spot.
That's huge because we all kind of thought the Angels were going to be second in that division, probably that fifth team in the playoffs, and they're just one game above 500 behind the A's.
They've really since Ohtani went down. It seems like things have really gone sideways for LA. He's coming back, but he's not going to pitch for a while. He'll be hitting only, so it'll be something to watch for.
I'm glad I didn't pick them. I looked at their roster and I was like, I like their lineup, and then I saw their pitching and I was like, no, I don't like that.
Especially in the West, it's tough to not be able to have 3 or 4 guys that you can trust to go out there and put you in a position to win.
Yeah, they don't have pitching, and they're facing Houston and Seattle, not however many times, 38 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams can hit, and Oakland always has 1 or 2 good bats.
Yeah. So, kind of jumping over to the National League, it's kind of held serve from the last time that you and I talked. The East is going to be a dog race to the end of the year with the Braves, the Phillies, and the Nats. Obviously, you don't want to count out the Nationals with the amount of star power that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But the Braves have kind of held serve. And I don't know if I see them going anywhere. The Phillies have kind of turned it on here a little bit lately. And they're just a half game back.
These are all 3 in the NL. The division leader is a team that hasn't really been at this point in previous years, with the Braves in the East, the Brewers in the Central, and the Diamondbacks in the West. And touching up on the Braves, I think that's the team that is most likely to hold it and win that division.
Yeah.
Although I think Arizona's awfully close.
I don't know. I think Arizona, while they haven't been playing very well lately, partly doing part to St. Louis going in and taking 2 out of 3 from them. No big deal. But I don't know. I see the Diamondbacks holding off the Dodgers because they just cannot.
The Dodgers, unless they make some noise at the trade deadline, they could also hold them off. If Arizona makes a move at the deadline and gets Machado, which has been a rumor, they'll keep that.
The 3 teams I've heard have been Milwaukee, Arizona, and the Dodgers. So, if either one of those 3 teams gets it, I think you make them the favorite in the National League.
I would agree.
Gets him, it'll be interesting to see kind of what moves are made by contenders. I think, in the East, I think there's 3 contenders. In the Central, while we can't seem to put it together, I still think the Cardinals can contend if things come together. We're having an absolute disaster situation with Dexter Fowler, who is mad at everybody because he's not playing, because he's hitting 160, which means
you're not going to play at 160.
No, especially since it's July.
He's not the bat you put in there at 160. It'd be different if it's Bryce Harper, and you're like, man, you never know when he's going to get hot. You got to put him in there. He's not that kind of bat.
So, I think that we can contend. I think we need. There's a rumor going around that the Cardinals have kind of kick the tires on Mike Moustakas, which would be kind of interesting. It would probably mean the end of a really underrated player in Colton Wong in St. Louis.
I was going to say Jed Jerko. I love my dude, Jed Jerko.
Maybe the end. That is Jed Jerko, West Virginia Mountaineer.
Yep. Really the only guy we have in the majors.
Yeah. I think Auburn's got one, so we're right there with you. It'll be interesting to see if the Cardinals kind of make a push, or if we kind of not necessarily fold up shop, but like kind of keep our core together and go after maybe Moustakas in the offseason since he's a free agent, or kind of see what kind of falls into their lap, because they won't be in the Bryce Harper sweepstakes, they won't be in the Machado sweepstakes unless somebody ponies up. But it'll be interesting.
The Cardinals, they're just they're a weird team. They don't generally spend big money in free agency. They kind of build from within.
A lot of our acquisitions are trade, because we always have just a plethora of young talent.
And it's not that it's not that they can't spend money. I think they can. I think they have deep pockets, deeper than people think.
We just don't.
Yeah, they just don't spend it.
I think our biggest one, we spent more money this year than I think we have in a while, with additions like a lot of bullpen additions like Dominic Leone, who has been hurt basically the entire year. Luke Gregerson, who has been hurt basically the entire year. Bud Norris, Greg Holland, who is an absolute disaster. It shows that if we see a need, we'll throw money at it.
Yeah.
But when that need is a $100 to $200 million middle of the order bat, don't see the need to throw money at that apparently. But that's another story for another day. So moving to the West, like we said, I think the Diamondbacks are in the best position to serve in their division. While they have a lot of guys hot on their heels, the top 4 teams in that division are within 3.5 games.
Yep.
I don't see the Rockies hanging around. I don't see the Giants hanging around.
The Giants are interesting because they're 2 games above 500. I don't think – is Bumgarner back?
He's finally back.
Is he? So Bumgarner's finally back. He's missed most of the year. The Posey just went down. They just can't seem to stay healthy. If they get healthy and Bumgarner's being a stud like usual, they could potentially get hot and get a wild card spot. And we all know what happens when they get the wild card spot.
Yeah, they could, and it's an even year, so who knows? I don't know. I like Arizona.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of young. They just lost a pitcher. I think it was Taijuan Walker went down.
For how long?
I think he's down for the year.
I was just about to say that. Just how they're very underrated. They have very underrated pitching.
Yeah.
Greinke, I was going to say Greinke, Corbin, Ray, and Walker, very underrated players.
Yeah. So that's tough. But I think with Goldie heating up, with Pollock and Lamb and David Peralta, trying to think of Nick Ahmed playing shortstop, some other guys, pieces that they have in a down year for the West. I think they can hold serve. I just don't see. As much as I hate it, I think the Cubs will overtake the Brewers at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. They're loaded with talent. They haven't quite pieced it together yet. Joe Madden, great manager. They got the farm system to go out there and get somebody. I reckon it's going to be pitching. I'm not sure what all they need in the field other than maybe a center fielder. But yeah, I think that's a team. Really depends on what they do at the deadline.
I saw a rumor that they had kicked the tires on trading for a rental of Bryce Harper, and I almost threw my telephone into the next county.
That ain't happening. Not when the Nationals are somewhat in contention.
Yeah.
That ain't happening. If they were in the Mets position and just keep, losing and losing and losing and losing every single game, maybe. But even then, I'm not sure the Nationals would do it.
That could be. That's interesting. You say the Mets. I could see Chicago going after DeGrom.
They've already said they're not. I think they've already said they're not giving away Syndergaard or DeGrom.
Okay.
I think they put it out there just to see what kind of offers they'd get. But they said, I think I read the other day, it would have to be substantial. There you go. Yeah, I mean, those are the two guys I think you got to hang your hat on if you're the Mets. You sign those dudes to 5-year plus deals. You could potentially be in contention for a long time, but they got a long way to go.
They need bats in the worst way possible.
I'd try to get rid of. I could try to get Cespedes' contract off the books just to.
Aren't senior citizens, yeah.
So let's we've already kind of touched up on it. Let's go ahead and talk. Mid-season. Post-season. Stuff. On it, we've already said it, but kind of in the AL. Before I even realized how good Oakland was playing right now, I said go ahead and book it. It's going to be the 5 teams are going to be Boston, New York, Cleveland, Houston, and Seattle likely. And by the way, great for Seattle. That's a team I've picked the last 2 years, and they've let me down. And then they finally piece it together.
We won't pick them, Shane.
I picked them every the last 2 years. I'm like, man, they got what it takes. I picked them to even win the AL West last year. They let me down, and then they're finally got going, and they don't even have great pitching. They got some dudes, but but now with Oakland kind of there is like that 6th team, makes it a little bit interesting. Tampa Bay could potentially heat up. I'm just not sure they have enough talent. Mm-hmm. But the NL wide open, in my opinion.
Completely wide open.
We're so used to the Dodgers and the Cubs kind of battling for it with the Nationals kind of right behind. And the Nationals are a game above 500. The Cubs are just 5 games above 500, and the Dodgers are just 7 games above 500. So,
it's gonna be interesting because the East has 3 teams. The Central,
I'll say 3.
If you're not me, 2. If you're me, 3 teams. The West, you could potentially say has 4 teams that could.
Yeah.
Like we said, I don't see the Rockies and the Giants hanging around for much longer, but they could definitely.
And we made such a big, we really pounded for Colorado. I felt like in the preseason.
Yeah, and their pitching just hadn't been there, which I think, like we said, is tough in Colorado to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep the ball down in Colorado. If you don't, you're gonna.
But for the record, they are 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, they're playing well.
Who else is playing well?
Cincinnati Reds are playing well.
Reds.
Yeah. Real well, and they're with what's their interim manager's name?
Riggleman. I've already said to my dad and my brother, like, he might be the front runner to keep that job. They're not 100% sure. I think they'd be fine with it if he were, but they're kind of like his personnel decisions aren't the best, but they're. I said it in my blog post last time I did a power rankings. They were about 500 when Riggleman took over, and then since his hot streak, I think they're a few games above 500.
Yeah, having those 3 All-Stars are really carrying the load, Votto and Suarez and Scooter. But good for the Reds. They were down and buried. Within the first 3 weeks of the season,
just the first 18 games, they were 3-18 or like 3-15
or something like that. Yeah. So good for them for turning it around, actually making it. They're still in the cellar, but they might climb out of the cellar. The Pirates are playing like dogs.
They're 12 games out, and they were crushing the Indians, not anymore, but they're still winning in the bottom of the 9th. So that'll get into 11 games. Again, I'm not expecting them to make a run at the postseason, but just get to about 500, I think we'd be satisfied.
Good for them. From where they were to where they are now, good for them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure. We've kind of touched on it. But let's go ahead and touch up on it some more. Of these three kind of surprising division winners in the NL, who do you think, I guess, holds on? I think we've already kind of touched up on it, but let's just continue it.
And I think we disagree here because I think you said Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I think Arizona is in the best position to hold on.
Arizona's tough. It really just depends on what they do at the deadline, I think.
Depends a lot on what folks do at the deadline. If Milwaukee goes out and makes a huge splash and gets Machado, obviously that kind of catapults them to the front of that list. Same for Arizona. Same for LA. I still and they keep proving me wrong. I'm still kind of bullish on the Braves, and they keep proving me wrong. So,
the Braves just are very young. They seem hungry. They have some decent arms.
It's an organization that's been.
There we go. Reds beat the Indians.
Good.
But they have some decent arms with Tehran, and you just said his name, Fultonevich.
Fultonevich, and Sean Newcomb is having a good year. They got a couple guys in the bullpen that are okay.
I think their additions are likely going to come in the bullpen. I'm not sure who they have. They used to have Craig Kimbrell as their closer. I'm not sure who they got now. They're likely going to stock up on pitching. I feel like they have enough hitting, and they got a deep farm system to call some dudes up.
I think you're probably right. We'll see. Like I said, it will greatly depend on what we do at the deadline or what happens at the deadline.
And then the Brewers, I like the Brewers. I'm going to be cheering for them to make a run. They have surprisingly good starting pitching. They got a great bullpen. Their lineup is pretty solid. That's a team I think could hold, but you look at Chicago right behind them. They're 1.5 games out. Deep farm system. We know what they can do. Just I feel like that's going to be tough for them to hold on. And I don't know what kind of farm system the Brewers had to get some guys at the deadline.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything worth that could land them a big name. I think most of their guys that they have been they have kind of touted are probably either already in the bigs or darn close. So I don't know what they've got. Like I said, I think Chicago goes out and gets a starter. Maybe not DeGrom, like I said, but go out and get a frontline starter, maybe a Chris Archer.
I was just thinking, I don't know who else is out there. I've heard Machado. I've heard, Syndergaard and DeGrom. Other than those three, I haven't really heard any names that could potentially be traded. Archer has been a rumor for the last few years.
Yeah, and Marcus Stroman or Estrada from Toronto.
Potentially. Stroman's been a lot better the last few weeks.
Yeah. Zach Britton, I know he's not a starter, but Zach Britton.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Baltimore, we talked about this last podcast. Baltimore should just sell house.
Sell everything.
Yep.
Literally everything.
Yeah. My roommate's a big Baltimore Orioles fan, and I was talking to him about it, and I said, "Do you think they will?" He was kind of like, "I hope, but not sure if they will."
The pitching market's a little weak this year. If Syndergaard and DeGrom are truly, untouchable, I don't know.
I'll tell you another name that potentially could be on the deadline and he just got traded, is Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey, yeah.
Since he got to Cincinnati, he's taken a 180 and been really solid.
I did hear his name for somebody that the Reds could flip, which might not be a bad move.
I've talked to this with my dad and my brother. They likely won't be able to re-sign him.
Yeah.
It's just hard to tell. He's not going to get a whole lot of money, I don't think. I don't think he's going to get about $15 million. And that's kind of what I think the Reds can afford, so it's just hard to tell.
Yeah, who knows? The deadline will be interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it quite yet. Obviously, the big dice that you're waiting for the big domino you're waiting for is Machado.
Yeah.
I think once he goes,
They're saying that's a done deal. Or not a done deal. He's going to get traded. I feel like it has to be. I mean, what's the point of holding on to him?
I think you could see Josh Donaldson get traded. The Cardinals have been kind of kicking the tires on him as well. That'd be big.
I know you love Josh Donaldson. Auburn, right?
I do, yeah.
And I know you're an Auburn fan.
With Auburn, he's our only one left now. We got a couple guys coming up, but I think you can see Donaldson get traded. But Real Muto obviously needs to be traded, but I don't know if he will be.
Which of these teams need a catcher? Maybe Atlanta.
Cubs don't. They've got Contreras. Brewers. I don't know. I don't even know who catches for the Brewers.
I mean, they had Lucroy a few years ago. Maybe the Brewers. I mean, never hurts to add another bat.
Maybe the Braves.
Yeah, I was just saying maybe the Braves. I don't know much about the Phillies. The Nationals have Wieters. I doubt they'll trade someone and bump him down.
I don't know. It's
Cardinals have Molina. The Diamondbacks maybe. The Dodgers have Grandal.
Grandal, yeah.
But he might not go to the National League. He might go over to the American League, and if so, maybe the Red Sox deep farm system.
Red Sox, yeah.
The Yankees won't need him. Indians maybe.
Mariners maybe.
Yeah, Mariners maybe. And I don't think the Astros will need him. So yeah, I think you're looking at Boston, Arizona, maybe Atlanta for Real Muto. Well, no, I doubt it's Atlanta because they're in the same division.
Yeah, same division, but that might not mean anything. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I don't have.
It'll be interesting for sure.
What's that?
I said it'll be interesting for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll have you on again for that. But until then, I don't really have much else to talk about. We've been at this for about an hour and a half. And that seems to be the case every time you come on. That's the case with baseball. It's just hard to do it every day. And when you do it, it's about an hour and a half because you got a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about in baseball, and I talk a lot to begin with. So, that's my fault.
It's no problem, man. But unless you got something to say, I'm going to log off.
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. MLB All-Star Game next week and Home Run Derby. Oh, that's what we went to do. Home Run Derby. None of the names have really come out. I saw one said Max Muncy, I think, accepted a spot in the Home Run Derby. And I thought you had to be an All-Star to do that. And he's not technically an All-Star.
No. Yeah, you don't have to be an All-Star to do it. I did see that Stanton and Judge are not going to be in it.
That's too bad. Well, one, I love Stanton to do it because no one in the league has his power except Judge. And so now, it sucks that Judge isn't going to do it. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Harper does it. Harper has to do it. He said a few years ago, when it comes to Washington, he's likely going to do it. Yeah, he's only been in like one, maybe two, and he hasn't done all that well. I don't remember, but like you said, it's in his home park. It's almost become a curse if you do the Derby. Like, you do the Derby and then you get cold. So, yeah. A dude I'd like to see in it, young guy, with his first All-Star Game appearance as Eugenio Suarez. Just, decent player for the Reds, get his name out there. Kind of like what Todd Frazier did a few years ago. Mm-hmm. When it was in Cincinnati. Just get your name out there, hit some dingers. Yeah. That's interesting. You still, with the Home Run Derby, though, you want to see names. Yeah, and Machado. I remember, I think it was the year St. Louis hosted. There was nobody except Albert Pujols. And that Derby. And Ryan Howard. I think it was. I remember Brandon Inge was in it, and he didn't even hit a home run. He may have hit one. Miserable. Mm-hmm. And then Pujols comes up, and we all knew he was going to win it anyway. And I can't remember if he did or not. Yeah. I think Prince Fielder won that one. You might be right about that. I don't remember. Prince Fielder won a few. Yeah, he loves the Home Run Derby. It's too bad that he's
he and David Ortiz were both big proponents of the home run derby. It's too bad they're both retired. But I don't know.
Home run derby was fun in the steroid era.
No matter who's in it. So, yeah, steroid era. But we'll see.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and let you go. We just wanted to touch up on that for a little bit. Thank you again for coming on. We will be in touch this week, I'm sure, with our group text.
We'll do it. Yeah, brother.
Oh, by the way, what is your schedule later this week? We're trying to get that Game of Thrones podcast going.
Yeah, so Wednesday would probably be best for me.
Okay.
Or Friday.
Okay, let me send some text out.
Yeah, we'll do it.
All right, we'll do. Later.
All right, take it easy, bro.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.